lag, which is a little annoying. I'll just turn down my headphones. Oh, I see what's happening here. Maybe it's better. No, still a little lag. That's okay. Hopefully we got people tuning. Can you see on Instagram, Doc?
Yeah, it's slightly askew.
Let's see what's going on.
Slightly askew. It looks like that. You can see.
I can't really see, but I'll figure it out.
That's because I've got my hold on, let me take my blur off. That's what it is.
All right, it does say we're live. Oh, no, it doesn't. I can't tell.
What, live
Can
on
you
Instagram?
tell? Yeah.
Yes, we're live on Instagram.
Oh, we are. We are askew.
Yeah.
I don't know how to fix that. Let's see if I can move some things. Yeah, that should change something, but I don't know if it's going to be better.
It'll probably bring you into focus, maybe.
I don't know. I got this weird echo too.
You had it the other way. Definitely brought you into very good focus.
Oh, look, my echo's out.
Cool.
Well, if I do side by side, that's cool. But then how are we gonna switch us? Well, who cares? We're live. Hopefully, everyone on Instagram's enjoying this. Those of you,
there should be a button where you can highlight one of us.
Oh, I sure can. Well, I can turn one of us off, basically.
Well, it should be like you should be, or maybe that's only with screen share where you can minimize yours at the bottom. With
I can do this.
Yeah, like that.
I don't know how to switch it around so it goes the other way, though.
It should be the. Okay.
I can do all kinds of cool stuff. But,
all kind of cool stuff.
I don't know if I can do what I want to do.
The buffoonery they're doing on Instagram.
And let me pull up IG so I can see what everyone's saying and stuff too. Hello to everyone who's tuning in on Facebook. Hello to everyone who is tuning in on Twitch. Hello to everyone who's tuning in on YouTube. And hey, hello to everyone who is listening to our podcast for the first time. That's fun stuff too, right?
Oh, absolutely. All right. It's a good podcast.
Well, hopefully this Instagram live is going okay. It looks like we're happening.
So how do we let people come and join us?
Well, for folks who come and join and watch, of course, join us on Instagram, join us on Twitch, join us on Facebook. For those who want to participate in the conversation, we can go ahead and distribute the links. I do have to say, though, I got to get into the scripture because it's 1:30 here, and my landlord's going to be here to fix the sink at 9, and I got a whole bunch of work sitting down there, like ready to get done. So we're going to dive into it because I don't need my landlord walking in on me doing the work.
Facebook now lets you see who's commenting. Oh, that's good.
Oh yeah, it should, and yeah, it should pop up on stream on Facebook, on screen. On Instagram, you're at a disadvantage. I'm not gonna lie. If you're watching on Instagram, you're gonna have a much better time on Facebook or Twitch or any of the other channels we got. But so I'm going to pull up the screen share here. I have the scripture prepared. Again, we're going to kind of dive right into it. If you want to hear our usual jibber jabber, tune into the first 4 hours of this hour.
Our usual jibber jabber is 4 hours.
We're going to see what we can do. And welcome to Princess Anderson, who's joining us on Facebook. I just got the screen share up. This should be visible to everybody. I'm not sure on Instagram how much of this you're seeing, to be honest with you, but I'm going to flip it on screen, at least for us here, watching on all the other platforms. And let me see if I can get it any bigger. That's about what we're dealing with here. Oh, there we go. How about that?
There we go.
Hopefully we'll see something here. I don't know what you're... Oh, you guys got the Hebrew in our faces here on Facebook, or on Instagram. It ain't bad. And I'm going to go over to my screen. So here we are looking at Genesis chapter 33. I I have a bunch of commentary pulled up. We'll get all into it. But let's just dive right into it. Vayisa Yaakov enav, and Jacob lifted his eyes. Vayar vehine Esav, and he saw, and behold, here was Esau, Bo ve'imo. He was coming, and with him, Arba me'ot ish, 400 men. Vayachatz et hayaladim. So he divided the children, al Leah ve'al Rachel, to Leah and Rachel, ve'al shtei ha-shvachot, and with the two maidservants. So he's kind of like, what's it say? Not putting all his eggs in one basket. He's hedging his bets. He's diversifying. That if Esau is going to come and attack, there's no way he's going to kill everyone. And I have some interesting stuff in the commentary that'll come out. Vayasem et hashvachot, and so he placed the maidservants et ha yaldehen and their children reshona first. Ve'et Leah ve'yaldeha acharonim ve'et Rachel ve'et Yosef acharonim. So he placed first the maidservants and their children, then Leah and her children, then Rachel and Joseph. Why? Because Joseph was his favorite, and Rachel was his favorite wife. So if Esau's going to kill anyone, he's going to kill these people who are not my favorites. Me and my favorites are going to turn around before they get him. Vehu avar lifnehem, and he went ahead of them. So he placed that order, and then he himself put himself in the front of danger. As the comments say here, the rabbis say, if that scoundrel comes to fight, let him fight with me first. I love it's like out of a kung fu movie.
Kung Pao.
V'hu avar livnehem, and he went ahead of them. Vayishtachu artsa, and he prostrated himself to the ground. Sheva pamim, 7 times. Ad gishto ad ichav, until he came close to his brother. So he's kind of like bowing and approaching and bowing and approaching and bowing and approaching. And I picked up a piece in commentary here. This is just an interesting, because we like to go into the weird, interesting, quirky rabbinic stuff. So I'm looking here at a midrash that says Jacob about this verse, that when Mordechai refused to bow to Haman, so we're talking about in the Megillah of Esther, they said to him, "You're going to get us all killed. How dare you go against the decree of a king?" And Mordechai responded, "I'm a Jew." So they said to him, "Didn't our forefather bow to his forefather?" And Mordechai said, "I'm a descendant of Benjamin, who was in his mother's womb at that time. Just as my forefather did not bow, so too shall I not kneel or bow." So the idea is Jacob went and bowed, and then all the sons kind of followed behind bowing. But Benjamin wasn't born yet, so he didn't. So his children don't bow. I thought that was an interesting twist that you don't get just about everywhere, So we go back. So Vayarat of Likrato, and Esau ran towards him. Vayachbekehu, and embraced him. Vayipol al tzavarav, and he fell on his neck. Vayishakehu, vayivku, and he kissed him and they wept. So a bunch of things here. First of all, the word vayishakehu, and he kissed him, it's written here, and I'll highlight it. Hopefully you guys can see that on screen. And it's written also in the Torah where there are no vowels with dots over every letter. That's how it's traditionally written. It's how it's properly scribally written. So the question is, why are there dots over every letter? And the answer is, we find here, I want to say here, nope, somewhere else. The dots are all over every letter to say that he didn't kiss him, but he bit him. So it says here in Midrash Rabbah, in the Torah, the word vayish, right here, vayishakehu, and he kissed him, is dotted on top, implying that this was an exception to the rule, that there's something special about this, that this is ironic, almost like an inverted tarot card. That there's drawing this to our attention as nefarious or sinister in a way. And Rabbi Yanai said, this is to tell us that he did not intend to kiss him, but to bite him. But Jacob's throat turned to marble and broke the evil one's teeth. In what it says here in Rashi's commentary was that again, talking about the dots over the word, there's a controversy concerning this. Some interpret the dots to mean that he didn't kiss him wholeheartedly, that he was going through the motions, but the emotion wasn't there. But the perhaps more miraculous would be the other interpretation, that even though he hated his brother, he was so moved that he did kiss him wholeheartedly, and therefore pay attention to this, like exclamation point type thing in parentheses, like, can you believe it? Vayisai einav vayar et hanashim, and he lifted his eyes and he saw the women, ve'et hayaldim, and the children. Vayomer, and he said, Mi ele lach vayomer. And he said, who are these to you? And he said, Asher chanan al Elohim et avdecha. He said, the children with whom God has favored your servant. Vatigashna hashfachot heina v'yaldehen vatishachaven. Excuse me. And the maidservants and their children drew near and prostrated themselves. Vatigash gam Leah v'yaldeha, and Leah and her children drew near. Vayishtachavu, and they prostrated themselves. Va'achar nigash Yosef, and after them, Joseph ve'Rachel, Joseph and Rachel, vayishtachavu, and they bowed. In all cases, the mothers drew near before their sons, right? Because the maidservants and then their children, then Leah and her children. Then it says Joseph and then Rachel. Why do they say this? Rashi tells us Joseph said, my mother has a pretty figure. Perhaps that scoundrel will set his eyes on her. I'll stand in front of her and prevent him from gazing upon her. So because of this deed, they say that Joseph merited the blessing over the eye, because he stood up in front of Esau's eyes. So in Genesis 49:22, he receives that blessing. Esau is kind of there, kind of like casting an eye at his mom. But he said, what is it to you, the Milacha, who to you, Kol HaMachane, all these camps, Hazeh, all these camps. Asher Pagashti Vayomer, who are all these camps to you that I've met? Vayomer, and he said, Limtso chen be'enei Adonai. And he said, to find favor in my master's eye. So that, what do they mean by that? They're saying, like, what's the deal with all this? Why is this all yours? Now, this is where we're going to look at Jasher here, because it says the Midrashic interpretation is that Esau encountered groups of angels who were shoving him and his men and asking them, to whom do you belong? And they respond, shoving Esau's men, and they said, we belong to Esau. And the angels said to one another, hit them, hit them. And the men of Esau would say, leave them alone, he's Isaac's son. But the angels would pay this no heed. Esau's men then retorted, he's Abraham's grandson. But the angels would pay this no heed. Esau's men again retorted, he's Jacob's brother. And the angels then said, oh, he's one of ours. So these were the angels that Jacob had sent, and they kind of responded to the command by their master's name.
Right, Jacob, yes. Wow.
And it's interesting that they were kind of like, all right, who could these angels respect? Isaac? No. What about Abraham? No. What about Jacob? Vayomer Esav, and Esau said, Yesh li rav achi, yehi lecha asher lach. But Esau said, I have plenty, my brother. Let what you have remain yours. This is interpreted in Genesis Rabbah that he's acknowledging Jacob's right to his blessings. And I found somewhere, not yet. I lost this one, but the idea that there's been we're gonna see it here, why he acknowledges the blessings. Vayomer Yaakov, and Jacob said, Al na, please no. Im na matzati chen, if indeed I have not found favor be'enecha, ve'lakachta minchati miyadi. If I've not found favor in your eyes, then you shall take my gift from my hand. Ki al ken ra'iti panecha, because I have seen your face. Fanecha, excuse me. Kirot pnei Elohim vetirtzani, which is like seeing the face of an angel, and you have accepted me. What the hell does this mean? This is the line I was talking about. They say here, I saw your prince. I saw your guardian angel, and that's who I wrestled. So he's kind of like, by the way, Esau, I checked your guy. By the way, I saw your angel. You know, Esau sent this angel to stop. He said, "Oh, by the way, I ran into your angel. I saw him."
we made sure he got to work on time.
And so it says, in order that he should fear him, he said this and say, he saw angels and was saved. From now on, I will not be able to prevail against him. Meaning, big brother, you might have been the tough shit, but I've spent time in the tents of Shem and Eber, and I just handled that whole shit with Laban. You can win and send your angel at me, and that wasn't an issue. Go talk to him about it.
Right. We just might have talked to. Go talk to him.
Yeah. It's that idea like you send a tough guy to go rough someone up, and the guy shows up the next day looking great, and he's like, I ran into your buddy. You talk to your buddy? So it says, Kach na birchati, count my gift. Birchati, again from that same root as Baruch, blessing. We translate my blessing, my gift. How does that translate in the King James? Do they translate it as blessing or gift?
So what they say here is, receive my present.
Present. Okay, so
they go. Verse 11.
We are at verse 11.
Yeah. Okay. Verse 11. Yeah. Please take my blessing.
My blessing.
Because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. So he urged him, and he took it.
So now, my translation here says, now take my gift which has been brought to you, for God has favored me with it, and because I have everything. He prevailed upon him, and he took it, right? Mm-hmm. I'm looking now at Robert Alter, and he says, pray take my blessing that has been brought you, for God has favored me, and I have everything. And I don't see it anywhere here in the commentary, right? But it seems to me that he stole the birthright, right? He stole the blessing. And that blessing included the ability to bless others, right? That's the blessing that was given to Abraham that was passed down the line. God said, and you shall be a blessing, meaning you have the capability to deliver blessings on my behalf or with my authority. And so here we have Jacob kind of closing that loop, returning it back to Esau.
I think it's very interesting that, like you said, because I have enough. I have the ability to bless and be blessed and bless others. So you can't deplete, you can.
Well, he says, Yeshli have everything. Not just I have enough. I have everything. Vayomer Nisa. Therefore, he said, travel, Nisa. V'nelecha ve'elcha le'negdecha. Travel and we will go, and I will go alongside you. We're going to wander through the desert together. And the idea is like, you're going to go, usually Esau would travel a lot faster. And Esau is kind of saying, I'll slow down. I'll go with you. I'll keep your pace. So Jacob replies, Vayomer elav, he said to him, Adonai, my Lord, Yodea ki hayaladim rakim. My master knows that the children are tender. V'hatzon v'habakar alot, and the flocks and the cattle, alot alai udfakum, which are raising their young, udfakum yom echad v'matu kol hatzon. The flocks and the cattle that are raising their young, they depend on me. And if they overdrive them one day, then the flocks will die. And they say the word that for overdrive them is that they'll like hit them. If they beat them to keep them moving too fast, they're going to kill these tender cattle. Yeah, avarna Adonai, Adoni. He says, now let my master go ahead, lifnei avdo, before your servant. Ve'ani et nahala leiti, leregel ha mlacha. and I will move at my own slow pace according to the pace of my work. Hamlacha asher lefanai. Uleregel hayaladim ad asher avo el Adoni so ira. So I'll go according to the pace of my work that's before me, and according to the pace of the children, until I come to my master to Seir. Bunch of shit here. First of all, we've talked about how a couple weeks ago, how whenever we have this allusion to the keeping of flocks and the keeping of children, that he's going at the pace of children, and that's the pace of his work. And the revelation here, or the mystery hidden here, of the nature of his work, the pace of the work that is before me, and according to the pace of the children, that his focus is on the care and the raising of the children. And no surprise, we have the term the children of Israel. Here we have Israel. He just got the name Israel a chapter ago. So what's the deal with him saying he's going to go to Seir? In Megillah, what was it in here? Here we go. So Rabbi Bahu said, we have searched the whole of Scripture and do not find that Jacob ever went to Esau to the mountain of Seir. Is it then possible that Jacob, the truthful one, should deceive him? It's funny they call Jacob the trickster, the truthful one. No. So when's he going to come to him? They say in the Messianic era, because in Obadiah 1:21 it says, when the saviors shall ascend Mount Zion to judge the mountain of Esau.
The deliverers. Mm-hmm.
So he has promised, here Jacob is promising, oh, don't worry, buddy, I'll catch up with you eventually on Mount Seir. Don't you worry. Go ask your buddy. Don't go ask your buddy about me, and don't you worry, man. Well, we'll meet up on Mount Seir sooner or later. Don't you worry, my friend.
And we have a party plan when we get there, just for you.
You know, he's dropping them every second. All these like sly little things. Get back to the verse here. Vayomer Esav, thereupon Esau said, Atzigana imcha. Let me leave with you, not like with you. Min ha'am, from the nation. Asher iti, that are with me. Vayomer, and he said, Lama ze emtzachen. Why do that? Be'enei Adoni. May I find favor in my master's eyes. Mimi is why should you do me a favor I don't need? Vayashav bayom hahu Esav ledarko Seirah. So Esau returned on that day on his way to Seir. Genesis Rabbah says the reason they mention Esau here and 400 men before is that he ended up arriving home by himself. That the 400 men slipped away one by one.
The hell with this.
And where did the Holy One, blessed be he, recompense them? In the days of David, as it said in 1 Samuel 30:17, and none of them escaped except 400 young men who rode on the camels. Yaakov nasa Sukkota. Jacob traveled to Sukkot. Vayiven lo bait, and he built himself a house. Ulamiknehu, and for his cattle asa Sukkot. And for his cattle, he made booths, sheds, shacks. Alken kara Shem hamakom Sukkot. So he called the place Sukkot. Sukkot means booths, like these little shacks that we build for this holiday. So one interpretation is that he stayed there 18 months, summer, winter, and summer, because they built the shacks in the summer, house for winter, and then the shacks for summer. I found elsewhere this interpretation, and this is coming from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, a vaunted Hasidic Rebbe, this interesting line. They said, for himself, for his true self and his true priorities, he constructed a home. But for his cattle, his material possessions, and the other peripheral elements of his life, he just sufficed with a minimal shed. And they have a a story that the Rebbe gave with this one. They say a chassid of Rabbi Shalom Dov Ber of Lubavitch opened a plant for manufacturing rubber galoshes. And soon his every waking hour and thought was completely occupied in his new and flourishing business. And the Rebbe said to him, I've seen people put their feet into galoshes, but never someone put his head into them. So it's this idea, of course, that we have to attend to the material. We can't neglect the material. We must build a shed for it. But for the spiritual, let us build a house.
Wow, that speaks so much of what we're doing.
That speaks so much of what we're doing, man.
A shed in the house, you know.
Yeah, of course we're keeping the shed. We're not going to let the cattle die in the field. We're going to keep the shed, but for the important things, we build the house. Vayavo Yaakov Shalem Ir Shechem, and Jacob came. Here it says safely, but Shalem means whole to the city of Shechem. Asher ba'eretz Canaan, which is in the land of Canaan. Bavo mipadan Aram, vayichen et pnei ha'ir. When he came from Padan Aram, he encamped before the city. A lot of lines here. So first of all, Shalem, again, meaning whole. What does that mean? He was cured of his limp. Remember, last chapter, he wrestled with the angel, and he gave him. So it says, cured of his limp and whole with his money. He did not lose anything because of the entire gift that he had given Esau. He was entirely restored. And it says he was also whole with his Torah, for he had not forgotten any of his studies in Laban's house. So again, the Midrash confirming that he was studying. You know, he wasn't just shepherding. He was studying the art in Laban's house. And what does it mean when he came from Padan Aram? They say that one. Saying someone came from Padan Aram is like saying they came out from between the teeth of lions. That he came whole from Padan Aram, from Laban and from Esau, who had come to attack him on the way.
This is interesting. Jacob speaks to a lot of cosmology and astrology. And when you said that, I thought about something. So there, the come out of the teeth of the lion would be in astrology. I wonder if Sasha, if she can speak to this. There is something called is ZionTemple.org. Something called besiegement. And when a planet is besieged in the heavens, it means it is betwixt and between the malefics. And so literally what happens is, normally this happens with Venus a lot. She's like the most of this, which is interesting because the idea of a damsel in distress, that's kind of where this idea comes from, is that she is betwixt or besieged, between Saturn and Mars, or known as Mars and Saturn, such that as she begins to pull away from her like square or her opposition with Mars, then bam, she's hit, and now she's got and on the other hand, she's moving towards a square or an opposition with Saturn. And so it's that a planet is besieged when there are betwixt and between aspects from one malefic. It's almost like checkmate. You can't move anywhere without being in check. And so that he had broken that gridlock, so to speak, come out of the lion's mouth. He had survived from Padan Aram and came back whole and complete. Is so powerful.
Let's go back to the screen share here. I'm trying to work on my production as getting it all nice and fancy for you guys. We got some good. 20 is the most interesting line here. There's so much there that we're going to get into. Vayiken et chelkat, and he brought the part, and he bought the part, hasadeh, the part of the field, asher natah sham ahalo, where he had pitched his tent, miyad b'nei chamor, from the sons of Chamor. Chamor is also the word for donkey in Hebrew. I'm not going to speculate as to what that means. Avi Shechem b'me'ah kshita, from the sons of Chamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 quesitos. Now, I found a very interesting comment here that this is one of the 3 places, the only 3 places in the Bible they mentioned the patriarchs purchasing. Right?
There's one where they purchased the grave or the tomb of didn't Abraham purchase?
Mm-hmm. It runs. So it says the notion is that the nations of the world cannot accuse Israel and say that they've stolen them. The 3 places are the cave of Machpelah, so the cave where Abraham buried Sarah, the site of the Holy Temple, and the tomb of Joseph at Shechem. The cave of Machpelah, Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver. The temple, so David gave to Ornan for the place 600 shekels of gold, and Joseph's tomb was bought for 100 kesita. So this is the only 3 places that they brought the receipts, as we say, right? They brought the receipts. So it continues, and this is a very interesting verse. And I'm very curious to see how 20 is written in the King James, and I'll pull out Robert Alter again. Vayatsev sham mizbeach, and he erected there an altar. Now this is a very confusing Hebrew. Vayikra lo el Elohei Yisrael. So Vayikra lo means, and he named it, and he called it. But lo, because as we know, Hebrew is a gendered language, so it literally means, and he called him. And he called him El, God, Elohei Yisrael, the God of Israel. So what does this mean? One interpretation. Now remember, Hebrew does not have the word is. They don't have a verb form of to be. So that present tense is always assumed here. So one interpretation is saying that Vayikra lo, and he named the altar or the place El Elohei Yisrael. The El, God, is Elohei Yisrael, is the God of Israel. That one, we're going on that line. It says the altar isn't called the God of Israel, but since the Holy One, blessed be He, had been with Jacob and saved him, he named the altar because of that miracle. So Jacob is naming the altar God is the God of Israel because Israel's his name. So he's naming the altar to declare that God is his God. We see Moses in Exodus 17:15 named an altar Adonai Nisi. The altar wasn't called that, but not the altar was Adonai, but he was acknowledging that, that whole phrase, Adonai Nisi, the Lord's my miracle.
Is that how y'all translate Nisi?
Yeah, my miracle. Ness is miracle, so Nisi is my miracle.
As my banner.
Interesting. Ness is miracle. So Nisi is my miracle. So this is interesting. In Megillot 18a, which I pulled up the original source, this is a really interesting way of flipping it. So it says, apropos statements in this line of traditions, the Gemara adds, Rabbi Acha further said that Rabbi Eliezer said, from where is it derived that the Holy One, blessed be He, called Jacob El, meaning God? As it is stated, and he erected there an altar, and he called it El, God of Israel. The idea is that he called Jacob El, that the God of Israel called Jacob a God. So this is saying that. So again, if you want to read it this way, and this is the last verse of the chapter, so we got plenty of time to hammer this out. Vayitzev sham mizbeach, and he built there an altar. We can call that a period, or we can call it a comma. We don't know because the Hebrew doesn't have punctuation. Vayikra lo, and he called him El, Elohei Yisrael. So this is a weird quirk of Hebrew grammar, right? Because this could be saying, and Elohei Yisrael, the God of Israel, called, and the God of Israel could have called Jacob El. He could have named the altar El, or Jacob could have called the altar El Elohei Yisrael. But I want to go back to this line we were looking at. Was it last week?
Wednesday. Yeah,
Wednesday, right? It was in Psalms. No, it wasn't in. No,
they
where were
were
we
the
looking?
Psalms. It was Psalms what? 82, I think.
I'm all over the place. I'm discombobulated.
I think it was
But
Psalms
this
82.
idea that he judges in the courts of the gods. That
Mhm.
that and it was so interesting that I thought that they was I have heard God called a judge. I've never, and because they translate it as judges, he judges in the
Good.
courts of the judges. I said I've heard God called a judge. I've never heard a judge called God. That seems like a weird twist, cover up, as we said. And so this
Psalms
verse is
82.
really interesting. This
Psalms
verse then
82.
becomes very, very interesting because if indeed God is calling Jacob God, what does it mean then to be an El? Because God is Elohim. He's not just El,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's the collective of all of these. So is God recognizing that Jacob is a fragment of him?
Well,
Is he?
we'll also look at it that remember we read this thing I think in Isaiah
Hmm.
where there's correlation between, if you will, a celestial judge, a celestial L, and a terrestrial L, and that they're linked, right? That there are, as it were, human representatives of the celestial L, whether they know it or not. And that's why Isaiah, I'm gonna do both of them together. I'm gonna throw them both in the pit. So could it be that he received this title El as the terrestrial bearer of El, of the celestial governor of Israel?
And that becomes very interesting.
Because hold that thought. I got to go pick a book up from my library. I'll be right back.
All right. I got to pick apart this other idea of who did he wrestle with? Because if he wrestled with the angel of Esau, then why is his name I wrestled with El? I wrestled with God. And I was in a totally unrelated line of study last night, found plenty of places that said he wrestled with the archangel Michael. Then how could it, does that mean that Esau's guardian angel was the archangel Michael? And I did find a really interesting account where, very much as you said last week, right? Like he's got the angel in a headlock, and the other angels are like, "Hey, listen, man, it's time to go do it. We have very few jobs out here. One of them is to praise God every morning, and we're about to be late for that. You better get your ass up here."
Well, in an hour, I got to meet for a debrief and prayer. But so I love this book right here. This is I can't tell how long I've had this book. This book is invaluable. It's got all the 700 names of God found in Scripture. It's called The Names of Jesus by Elmer L. Towns, and I have a number of reasons for this. But in the back, we talk about El. Now, what is interesting is that this is certainly not as extensive as when you look up divine names, because you through Kabbalah you got to pull them out of just about every verse. But he gives a couple here. And let me see. We're in Genesis 33:20. Yeah, El Elohi Israel. And it says it's the same one as Psalm 68:8. This book says. Psalm 68.
Oh, that's interesting.
68:8. Let me look at that. Psalm 69, 68:8, and it says, "Oh, this is interesting. The earth shook; the heavens also dropped rain at the presence of God. Sinai itself was moved at the presence of God, the God of Israel." So that's the same name, the same Elohim, as it were here. So what he lists is now, if you want to go here, this goes back to what I said about last names of spirits and the catalog of spirits. So I'm just really bear this out from the El and the Elim and the Elohim perspective. He gives Joshua 2:11, God in heaven, Genesis 35:7, God of the house of God. He has God of my mercy, God, the God of Israel, whom we just discussed. The Most High God, Genesis 14:18, El Elyon. The faithful God, El Emunah. The mighty God, El Gabor, the God of glory, El Hakabod, God of my life, the living God, a jealous God, a holy God. It's interesting because he puts jealous God twice here. There is one that says jealous God, Exodus 20:5, El Kanah, and there's one that says a jealous God in Joshua 24:19, El Kino. Then he goes into God of my strength, God our refuge, God my king, God most high, as I mentioned to you before, El Moram, God that avengeth, the avenging God, God that forgave, the everlasting God, El Olam, God my helper, thou God seest me, God my rock, El Shaddai, of course, one of the most famous, God the Almighty, Elohim Sheptim Baraetz, God that judgeth in the earth, God my exceeding joy, God of hosts, God of my salvation, God of my righteousness, God of Jacob, Elohi Yaakov, and God of Israel, Elohi Yisrael. Total of 32 times, he says.
So I wonder, did he give Jacob, did he open one of these caminos of El to Jacob here? Do you know what I mean? And I was trying to do this gematria that Manly P. Hall said, but he said it in English and it's not adding up for me. It was going to be really impressive, but Manly P. Hall said that the number of the Son of Man is the same as the number of the Messiah, which is the same as the number of Shaddai. And I've been trying to do that. I haven't been able to get it to add up in any of those ways. But then I was like, oh, maybe it was El Shaddai, and that gets me within 3. So I wonder if there's just a spelling something somewhere where someone's doing something differently. I gotta figure this out.
Running the gematria.
Right. Now on that word Nisim. Okay. Little research here.
You say it's
well, so when I looked it up in Brown Driver Briggs, I got Banner, and here I found it. We use the word Nes today to mean miracle, but its meaning in biblical Hebrew is a symbol of victory held high for all to see, therefore a banner or a flag. So there's something of this triumph, how the word triumph means victory, but it also means the sign of the victory, the parade of the victorious, etc. The triumph. So Ness is a similar thing where it is this.
It is a miracle, but a specific type of miracle.
Yeah, it's the sign of the miracle. Yeah. It's not the miracle itself, but the miracle as the banner, or the banner of the miracle, you might say. Well, shoot, we have Cedric asked, what was the name of that book you mentioned?
Oh, this one. I've mentioned this great deal. This is called The Names of Jesus by L.
in the chat here.
It's an orange book here. My camera's doing the foggy thing.
Well, your camera's not even showing up on IG, so I'm just gonna. This is The Names of Jesus.
Yeah, The Names of Jesus. It's a little peach orange colored book. Over 700 names of Jesus to help you really know the Lord you love. But what I love about it is that it gives 700 names in titles, and then the back he organizes them in the appendix, by alphabet. And at the end, he also goes into the compound names, which is what you would call like your divine names, like the Elohim, Jehovah, those kinds of things.
There's something to a book that has an appendix. I have probably 3 or 4 books where the appendix is not more valuable than the whole book, but yeah, I definitely look at it the most. I bought that book for the appendix.
Yeah.
Whew. Well, on that note, what do we got here? It's 2:11 a.m. here. I know you got to get to prayer in about 45 minutes.
Yep.
I got to see what kind of work I can get done before the landlord gets here in the morning. Oh, I'm yawning. That is not good for the podcast. Well, welcome everybody who was listening to us for the first time. Thank you for joining us again, everybody who's been listening to us all along. we are being rather fatalistic calling it our last show on Instagram. That's not technically true. We do still have a couple more months, but the move is underway. You could say we are escaping from Padana Ram as we speak. So make sure that you're connecting with us. In my case, you can go to linktree.com/Hoodoo Moses. That's linktr.ee. Oh, sorry, it's not linktree.com. It's just linktree/Hoodoo Moses. Jeez. linktr.ee/Hoodoo Moses. And from there, you're going to want to just sign up for my mailing list. That's how you are going to get kept abreast of all the changes, all the developments, all the things we're rolling out in 2021. If you want to be included in the congregation, that's how you can be included in those emails. Or you can go right to the Holy Mountain page. That's holymountain.co and sign up for the mailing list there. And I'll tell you what, if you're on that Holy Mountain mailing list, that's where you're going to get the discount code for Hoodoo Academy. That's also where you're going to get the invites to the Zoom meetings every week from now on and everything like that. We're going to start really integrating, even though we're not going to completely leave Instagram. If you're on Instagram, you're getting these cropped videos. I'm not doing the sideways thing anymore. You want the full screen. You want to talk with us. You want to interact with us. Go get those links that just sign up for the email. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. So you can go ahead and do that at holymountain.co. And of course, Dr. Cosmic. I'm going to go put his caption up on screen because I went through the trouble of making it and he corrected it. So that's where I'll know how to find him. You will find Dr. Cosmic at ziontemple.org. That's www.zion, temple, temple.org. You can go ahead there and register as a guest of the community and begin to get involved with all the remarkable things they're building over there in the House of Zion. And with that, I guess it's time to sign off, Doc. I am Brother Hoodoo Moses Shanasa. With me, as always, is Dr. Cosmic Nuaji. We will be back next week. And for those of you who have tuned in for the first time, oh, wow. This is just the beginning because you know what we have next week? Do you know what we have next week, Doc? The much vaunted Genesis 34, which, if I am not mistaken, is a chapter that we've been looking at for a long time. Is that not where they visit?
We've been building up the death of Esau.
Well, it's not even really in here. It's kind of just covered up.
Well, of course, they're not going to necromantic heads and talismanic fetishes.
Oh, do we have to wait 35 for that? Let's see. Well, we have Dinah in 34.
Dinah in 34, yeah.
We got Deborah died. Oh yeah, we're getting close. Rachel's giving birth. Monument. Rachel's dying. Oh, yeah. And here's all the sons of Rachel. Oh, yeah. Here's where it goes. And Isaac died. And Esau and Jacob go to bury him. So that's in chapter 35, where we'll hear about the secret decapitation of Esau. And we will loop back and connect that with what we read in Targum Pseudo Jonathan about the preparation of necromantic heads, which must be the head of a redhead or a red-colored person, which we know that Esau is. And we will look at everything that is implied by that, what was going on there, what maybe had been intended, and all the other crazy things we like to find in the Old Testament. We hope we've at least changed the way you look at some of this stuff and made you consider that maybe, just maybe, the people who told you the Bible meant what they said it meant because it jived with what they wanted you to believe, we're not telling you the whole story.
True.
Well, we'll find out more next week. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. We wish you only the best, the happiest of New Year's. May God bless you in this year passing and in the new year coming.